Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, Israel has been ranked the 8th most powerful country in the world. The annual survey published by U.S. News and World Report revealed that the tiny Jewish state is viewed as one of the world's most powerful nations. Israel also made the top 10 movers list, signifying a booming economy. The magazine stated that for its relatively small size, Israel has played a large role in global affairs.
Damascus is accusing Jerusalem of carrying out yet another covert strike against the Tias air base near Homs. A senior member of the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reported that Iranian and pro-regime fighters were stationed at the military facility, along with members of Hezbollah. Jerusalem remains tight-lipped about the attack, but the Israeli Air Force has targeted the Iranian stronghold multiple times in the recent past.
Palestinian Authority leader Mahmoud Abbas appears determined to continue inciting bloodshed by offering incentives to terrorists and their families. This despite being warned by the United States that the PA will lose millions of dollars in aid unless Abbas and company immediately halt their pay-to-slay program of compensating terrorists and their families for murdering Israelis. Abbas told a gathering of Fatah party officials that his government would keep Arab terrorists, martyrs, and prisoners on the payroll, and that he would not allow anyone to interfere in their financial affairs. He also instructed his party to reject any peace plan proposed by Washington, saying, "We are against it, we will not accept it, and we will not allow it."
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has been re-elected and will assume expanded powers under a revamped governmental structure. The Islamist politician is launching a highly controversial executive presidential system that grants him ultimate authority. In what critics are describing as the creation of a partisan one-man regime, the position of prime minister has now been abolished, and Erdogan will preside over a drastically slimmed down and selectively chosen cabinet of just 16 government ministers whose operations have also been severely restricted. Erdogan has cleaned house by dismissing nearly 19,000 public employees, including thousands of police officers and soldiers, to assure that those who remain are aligned with his policies. Israel is especially concerned over the Turkish strongman's support of the Hamas terror group, and Jerusalem's voiced concern over Erdogan's incitement in the capital, most particularly on the Temple Mount. We recently reported that the Turkish Cooperation and Coordination Agency, known as TICA, was discovered handing out millions of dollars in cash and Turkish flags to Arabs living in Jerusalem while promoting a violent ideology. Israeli authorities believe that representatives of this so-called aid society have met with members of the Islamic movement and have also transferred funds and intel to Hamas. The National Security Agency is recommending a set of proposed measures be enacted against TICA to prevent the further expansion of Ankara's radical influence in the Holy City.
In another blow to the Iranian economy, KLM Airlines has suspended its flights to Tehran. The Dutch air carrier said the decision was the result of a negative financial outlook after U.S. President Donald Trump withdrew from the Iranian nuclear agreement and announced the reimposition of crippling sanctions against the radical Islamic Republic. This comes just days after the world's third largest shipping container group, CMA-CGM, announced its withdrawal from Iran. More and more international corporations are weighing the consequences of continued commerce with the Ayatollahs, despite Britain, France, and Germany's attempts to offset the American sanctions. The three world powers met with members of the Islamic Republic in Vienna recently, where they offered Iran economic benefits to hold up its end of the 2015 Sweetheart Nuclear Accord brokered by the Obama administration. The Iranian delegation received a lukewarm reception in Austria, where their host bluntly told them that they had no right to threaten the Jewish state. Erin has more on that story.
Thank you, Yochanan. That's right. Austrian Chancellor Sebastian Kurz has taken a strong stance against Iranian aggression toward Israel. Kurz recently hosted the Islamist regime's president, Hassan Rouhani, in Vienna, where he said that it is absolutely unacceptable to question Israel's right to exist or to call for the destruction of the Jewish state. Kurz also told the Iranian leader that Austria is unconditionally committed to the security of Israel and its citizens. And just hours before Rouhani's reception, Tehran's ambassador in the Austrian capital was informed that the diplomatic status of one emissary attached to the embassy had been revoked following his arrest in Germany as part of a terrorist plot against a meeting of Iranian opposition members in Paris. The envoy was detained along with 2 Iranian-Belgian nationals in possession of an explosive device.
Israel has submitted a letter of protest to Poland over the publication of a joint statement absolving the Polish people of crimes of the Holocaust. Jerusalem and Warsaw have been in the throes of a diplomatic crisis after Poland passed a law requiring jail time for anyone who uses the term Polish death camps or speaks of Poland's complicity in the genocide of the Jewish people. The law was recently amended to cancel the criminal clause, and the prime ministers of both countries made statements praising the progress. Warsaw then fanned the flames by taking out a full-page ad in an Israeli newspaper, which, according to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, did not faithfully reflect the spirit of the agreement. A senior Israeli official said Jerusalem was eager to put this affair to rest, but Warsaw's decision to exaggerate the understanding in the Israeli publication has sparked it anew.
Israel's envoy to Thailand and several others from the Jewish state have been at the site where 12 young soccer players and their coach were trapped for 17 days inside of a flooded cave. Israeli Ambassador Meir Shlomo said that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called on him to extend all necessary assistance to the nation's friend, Thailand. An Israeli technology company called Maxtech Networks is being credited with helping to first locate the missing boys. It also provided the data, video, and voice link to the team while they were still stranded deep underground. The company's CEO was on location since June 25th, just 2 days after the group went missing. Uzi Hanouni said that he loaded his equipment into suitcases and made the 12-hour flight, realizing that he could assist in the daring rescue operation. An Israeli father-son diving team also came to the cave in northern Thailand. The father, Rafael Arouche, said that his heart was broken on behalf of the boys and that he wanted to assist with the international extraction mission in any way that he could.
Christians continue to be persecuted in the Islamic Middle East, and as a result, they now make up only 4% of the population. Before World War I, about 20% of the inhabitants of the region, known as the birthplace of Christianity, were believers in Jesus. But since Christians have become the target of Islamic terror attacks and have been persecuted by Muslim inhabitants of the area, many have emigrated or converted. Those faithful Christians remaining endure persecution and dhimmi status. This is true for the entire Middle East, except for Israel, which remains an oasis of religious freedom. Israel is the only country in the region where the Christian population is actually growing, and where the right to practice their religion is not only protected but encouraged. Sadly, however, this is not the case in Palestinian-controlled areas like Bethlehem, where the Christian population is rapidly disappearing. Pope Francis recently said he fears Christians will eventually disappear from the Middle East amid murderous indifference to their plight.
Israeli intelligence operatives have managed to return the wristwatch of one of Jerusalem's most famous spies. Espionage agent Eli Cohen, known as Israel's man in Damascus, infiltrated the highest ranks of the Syrian government and passed valuable intel that played a key role in Israel's success in the Six-Day War. The Mossad issued a statement describing the watch as part of Cohen's operational image and his fabricated Arab identity, which he was wearing the day of his capture. The timepiece remained in the enemy state until Israeli agents reportedly succeeded in purchasing it from the grandchildren of the woman who'd held it since Cohen's execution on the 18th of May in 1965. It's now been returned to Cohen's family by the chief of the Mossad. Eli Cohen's widow, Nadia, said that she feels like the watch was part of her late husband and that she's very moved by the agency's efforts to bring it home to her family. Despite repeated pleas for more than half of a century, Syria has refused to hand over her husband's remains, and his final burial site is unknown.
Knesset members have been allowed to return to the Temple Mount for the first time in 3 years. The Islamic Waqf controls the holy site, and it heavily restricts non-Muslim visitation and forbids Jews and Christians from praying there. Waqf officials have falsely claimed that the presence of members of the Israeli government on Mount Moriah is an attempt to usurp Muslim control of the holy site. This incitement sparked a wave of violence and led Israel to ban MKs from the site for 3 years. The restriction has been partially lifted, allowing members of the government to ascend once every 3 months during specific hours. Uri Ariel, Israel's Minister of Agriculture, was the first legislator to return to the holiest place in Judaism. He said Muslims are using threats and violence to keep Jews from worshiping where both the first and second temples once stood. He urged Prime Minister Netanyahu to open the Temple Mount to prayer without limitations for anyone.
An Israeli 7-year-old, Liel Levital, just won first place at the European Chess Championships for Children in Krakow, Poland. Liel competed against 13 opponents during the course of the 8-day contest. She earned 6 points from 7 games and accepted her prize while proudly wrapped in the Israeli flag.
Archaeologists excavating near the Sea of Galilee have discovered the entrance gate to the ancient city of Sare, which is mentioned in the book of Joshua. This seaside village later became known as Bethsaida, which is referred to in the Christian Bible as the place where Jesus performed the miracle of fishes and loaves. In addition to the discovery of the city's main gate, archaeologists working in the Jordan Park area also uncovered a stash of coins, beads, jugs, and a Roman soldier's house keys and shield. One of the coins, which dated to the year 35 of the Common Era, is extremely rare as it was minted in the city of Acre on the occasion of the arrival of Mark Antony and Cleopatra.
That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein, and we're here on a beautiful sunny day on our rooftop studio in Jerusalem. My guest today is Michal Eshet. She's the founder of the Settlement Map of Ancient Israel. Michal, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
Tell our viewers a little bit about what is the ancient map of the settlement of Israel.
The ancient map of the settlement of Israel is showing all the ancient settlements of Israel since Bible time till the end of Mishnah and Talmud time. And it also shows the forces of the Arab armies, Arab Muslim armies that occupied Israel on 634. And then it shows all the Arab villages and settlements that were built on the land and on the villages that were once Jewish.
Now, how does this differ from any historical map of this land of Israel?
Okay. During the years, started from when first Zionists came to Israel, many information accumulated in our history books and atlas concerning the fact that many Arab villages today were before Jewish villages, Jewish communities, Jewish cities. For instance, you know, many Arab villages in the north, in the Galilee, are called Kafar Mandei. Kafar, there is one in the Shomron, Kafar Kasem. Did you ever ask yourself why it is called Kafar? It is called Kafar because the Hebrew name was Kfar. It was Kfar Mandi, Kfar Kesem, not Kafar Kasem. And those places were, because they were once Jewish and the Arab came in, they just took the name, they left the name the same. And since then, they call the Arab villages Kafar. But the real and the Arab name, the Arab word for a village is either Karya or Balad. It was never Kafar. Only in Israel, Arab villages are called Kafar because they are named after the Israeli Kfarim.
I think what's so exciting about the map is it takes away this false narrative that Jewish people are occupying the land of Israel, and it shows that it's actually the Arab occupation throughout the centuries that have taken Jewish sites and turned them to Arab. I think that is incredibly remarkable. How does that impact Israel's narrative around the world?
I mean, the people of Israel are counting today 10,000s of sovereignty in Israel, including the old-time sovereignty that we had during the time of the settlement, the time of the kings, the time of the two divided kingdoms, Judea and Israel, and the time of Hashmonaim, Maccabim, which they had more than 100 years of a sovereign state here in Israel. Then we came here. We have already 70 years of sovereign state in Israel. Altogether, it becomes to the magic number, 1,000 years of Jewish sovereignty in the land of Israel. But we exist in this land about 4,000 years. So the rest of the years that were left, around 3,000, 2,800 years, we were occupied by foreigners. The longest occupation of the land of Israel is the Arab-Muslim occupation. And the difference between the Arab occupation and other occupation is that Arabs stayed. They came to stay, they came to settle, they they pushed all the farmers of the Israeli villages out by raising the taxes in a way that the Israelis could not handle it, could not cope. Israelis left the villages to the cities, to the towns, like they went to Jerusalem, Hebron, Tiberia, Tzfat, Akko, Shechem, and all other cities that were in Israel then. And they left the villages to the Arab-Muslim conquerors.
Now, we're getting an incredible amount of revisionist history these days. The UN organizations are saying Jews and Christians have no connection to the land of Israel, no connection to the Temple Mount. How does your map dispel these lies?
The map shows a continuation of Hebrew, Israelite, and Jewish settlement of the land of Israel. The map and the internet site, Eretz.il, shows the same settlement, the same village, the same town, first when it was established at the time of the Bible. Then it shows the same place at the time of the Israeli kingdom, David kingdom, at the Second Temple time, and after Second Temple time, at the time of Mishnah and Talmud. So when you look at the map and you look at the internet site, you can see the continuation of the Jewish settling of the land of Israel since the year of 1800 years before counting at all.
Michal, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for a viewing audience?
If you wish to contribute to the existence of the Jewish people in the land of Israel and to into the existence of the state of Israel, you should come to visit Israel by millions. You should visit the website Eretz.il and learn about the true settling history of the Jewish people in the land of Israel. It is very recommended also to have the map, the real map, the paper map at your home, hanged on the wall, so every day you can look at the map and remember Israel.
Thank you, Michal, for being on the show, and thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Up next, the return to Zion with Karen Hayesod.
Shalom and welcome to the Return to Zion with Karen Hayesod. I'm Eliezer Moody Sandberg, World Chairman of Keren HaYesod United Israel Appeal, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. Today, you will witness the fulfillment of biblical prophecy through the gathering of the exiles. God bless you from Jerusalem.
Me and my family always prayed to come to Israel because it's a home, it's our home. 10 months ago, I made Aliyah with my sister. We are living together in Haifa. I'm worrying about my family because the situation in Ukraine now really terrible.
The past decade and a half has witnessed a frightening upsurge of worldwide anti-Semitism, unparalleled since the 1930s. Across Europe, incitement, desecration of Jewish institutions, attacks on Jewish property, and acts of terror, including murder, are striking fear into Jewish communities. From London to Berlin, Brussels to Copenhagen, Jews are being harassed, assaulted, and murdered. The situation is particularly intolerable in France and in Ukraine. In France, violent crimes against Jews have become commonplace.
Avec la multiplication des actes antisémites en France, donc déjà j'ai peur pour moi, mais j'ai aussi peur pour ma famille, pour ma femme, pour mes enfants plus tard.
In eastern Ukraine, over 1 million people have been displaced. In the escalating chaos and lawlessness, Jews have once again become scapegoats, with many anti-Semitic incidents reported.
When I was in school, my classmates told me that, oh, you are Jewish, it's not normal in Ukraine, why you are Jewish? It was very hard for me to speak with them, to describe every time what I do in Ukraine and why I'm Jewish.
I will give to you and your descendants after you the land of your sojourning, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession. But Israel has always been the homeland of the Jewish people. Throughout their 2,000-year exile, the Jews prayed daily to return to the land of Israel. In 1917, Great Britain issued the Balfour Declaration. In 1920, Keren HaYesod was established to raise funds for this purpose. Since the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, Keren HaYesod has helped bring 3.5 million olim to Israel from the four corners of the earth.
This is Bible prophecy come into fulfillment. It's not just my heart, but I can feel the heart of Abba Father. Abba Father in heaven is so pleased to see his children who are scattered all around the globe is coming back home.
From India to Africa to Europe, record-breaking numbers of Jews are eager to come home. Aliyah rose dramatically in the past year, hitting a 10-year high despite the security threats that face Israel. Keren HaYesod operates in 45 countries throughout the world. The Keren HaYesod law, passed by the Knesset in January 1956, grants the organization a unique fundraising status. In close coordination with the government and the Jewish Agency for Israel, and in partnership with the global Jewish community and Friends of Israel, Keren HaYesod promotes Aliyah and other national priorities. We need you, dear friends, to be our partners in this noble mission of helping the people of Israel return home before the window of opportunity slams shut and live safely in its secured homeland. Keren HaYesod, with your generous assistance, has redoubled its efforts to facilitate every Jew who wishes to fulfill the biblical prophecy. Friends of Israel, the Holy Land and its people needs you now. He will raise a banner for the nations and gather the exiles of Israel. He will assemble the scattered people of Judah from the four quarters of the earth.
Come join Keren HaYesod in fulfilling biblical prophecy. Let's bless Israel together.
To donate and get information, call us at 1-800-505-1665 or visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
During the recent Gaza riots, Israel was accused of wantonly, willfully shooting Palestinians who were merely peacefully protesting for better conditions. It was alleged that there was a humanitarian crisis in Gaza caused by Israel's blockade of Gaza. None of this is true. Israel, in fact, was the only country that had open crossings into Gaza, 3 of them, at a place called Erez, another at Karni, and another at Keren Shalom. Erez was a crossing for pedestrians. Karni was a joint industrial zone. And Keren Shalom admitted 1,200 truckloads of food and medicine and other goods per day. The naval blockade of Gaza didn't affect food or medicines at all. It was only about weapons and materials that could be used as weapons. Israel had nothing at all to do with the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Egypt closed off its borders. And then Hamas, the terrorist organization that has ruled Gaza since 2007, it burnt down the crossings. It burnt down Keren Shalom. It built tunnels under the Erez crossing, and it shelled the Karni crossing, blew up its own industrial zone to create a humanitarian crisis in Gaza, to starve out the population in Gaza so that Hamas could go to the world and say, give me money for my people. It wasn't going to use the money for its people. It was going to use the money for more tunnels, more rockets to fire at Israel. That's Hamas. Hamas also wanted to weaken and drive the Palestinian population of Gaza to despair so that they could literally be brought to the fence, to the area of the border, and driven to that fence, where they would break through the border and either kill Israelis on the other side or be stopped by Israeli forces and have Israel condemned for war crimes in the world. And the world bought into this lie. Everything said about the Gaza riots was a lie. Israel did its best to address the humanitarian situation, and Israel did its duty by defending its border.
Lift up your eyes and look around. All your children gather and come to you. The biblical prophecy is unfolding right before our very eyes. The people of Israel are returning to the Promised Land after 2,000 years of exile. But millions of Jews are still longing to come home. Anti-Semitism threatens many of the Jews. We must rescue them before the window of opportunity slams shut. Bless Israel by supporting Keren Hayesod United Israel Appeal, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. Together, we can fulfill the prophecy of the Bible.
Let us bless Israel together.
To donate and get information, call us at 1-800-505-1665 or visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.